rethinking what I eat to keep me healthy.
Choose Eat Smart.
Rethinking tobacco prevention.
But with fact.
Rethinking drug prevention, drug drop boxes. Woo!
Rethinking access to mental health care in our community.
Rethinking where we get our food. School gardens.
Rethinking my choices at school lunch, locally grown, healthy, and delicious.
Rethinking talking to parents about sexual health.
Rethinking getting to school. Walking school bus.
Rethinking getting from point A to point B. Drive your bike.
Hi everyone, welcome to Rethink, Your Life, Your Choice. We bring community residents, leaders, and advocates like you together to find solutions to some of the most important prevention and health issues we are facing today. I'm your host, Emily Deeringer. Thanks for joining us. We are excited to transform Winnebago County into a community focused on implementing solutions for better health where our residents live, work, learn, and play. Today we are talking about locally grown food. It's a hot topic this season and throughout the year, and it's for good reason. We'll be discussing many of these reasons with several Rethink Nutrition promotion partners today. Our first guest is Sarah Wright, Nutrition and Healthy Food Systems Coordinator with Rethink. Thanks for being here today, Sarah.
Thanks, Emily. It's great to be here.
So we're going to get started right away. I'm really excited about food today. So as I mentioned, local food is a big movement that's been happening not only in Winnebago County, but across Wisconsin and nationally. Can you explain a little bit about what local food means?
Sure. Yes, it is a big movement. And traditionally, our food systems, well, they've really become highly complex with numerous steps between where the food is grown in the soil to when it gets to our plate to eat. And in this country, the average distance our food travels from the farm to our plate is 1,500 miles.
Wow.
So we're seeing a return to a more traditional food economy as the demand for that locally grown food is really growing. And that demand can come from individuals and families buying food for the use in the home, or from chefs who want more locally grown food in the restaurants, menu items that they serve, or for schools, universities, hospitals, and others that serve food. So local food could really mean that you grew it in the garden, or you bought it at a local farmer's market or produce stand, or bought it directly from a farmer, or even looking for that red and yellow something special from Wisconsin sticker in your grocery store. So people are really recognizing also that food is closely related to our health and looking for more unprocessed options of food, and local food is really a way for them to do that.
So does locally grown or local food mean the same everywhere you go, or do people have different definitions for what, I guess, counts as local?
Yeah, it's not necessarily always the same, and there's not really an official or a legal definition of locally grown, so it's really up to the individual or the organization of people that are buying and eating the food. We typically think of locally grown as, our first choice would be something within 50 miles of where we are, for example, but it could also include something grown in Wisconsin. We also look at sort of a regional food perspective, so that might be food from a neighboring state, for example, and that becomes important as the weather gets colder and we have less available fresh growing, out in the soil here in Wisconsin, or it might be for something that isn't real plentiful around here, such as blueberries, which we have a lot more of those, for example, in Michigan.
Right. So, and I know like peaches are another example, that peaches grow in Michigan, but they don't really grow in Wisconsin. So you could get peaches from California, or you could get more locally grown peaches from Michigan. Okay.
And those are all choices are still better than the 1,500 miles.
Exactly.
Kind of
Awesome. Super. Okay. So what are some of the benefits for eating local? If I'm a family, or I'm just me, myself, and I'm interested in getting on the local food bandwagon? What are some of the reasons why I would want to do that?
Yeah, so, as we talked about earlier, the demand is growing, and part of it is that people recognize that it really tastes better. If you think about that tomato that you just picked out of your garden or that you bought at the farmer's market, and the flavor of that and the freshness and the taste compared to maybe the tomato you bought in the grocery store in the middle of winter, that, and or if you think of lettuce or sweet corn or melons, all those things that are really plentiful right now in Wisconsin, the flavor is just really better. Local food tends to also be more nutritious with maybe less processing than some of the other foods that can degrade nutrients or less addition of unhealthy ingredients that we really don't want or need. And one of the challenges with local food can be that some perceive it as maybe cost prohibitive. So maybe higher end restaurants might have more local food, or as local food becomes more scarce in the winter, it can be more expensive to find for people. So we really want to help level the playing field for that and make local food available for more people. So Winnebago County has a farm to school program, which is dedicated to bringing more local food into school lunches for the children and the staff to eat. And Rethink has been partnering with the schools in Winnebago County for the past 2 years, and that's supported by a CDC Transform Wisconsin grant and also a USDA farm to school grant.
So with schools as one of the buyers of local food, that kind of sounds like a win-win, because if you're me, an individual buying local food, I buy X amount of food a week. A school, on the other hand, has the opportunity or capacity to buy hundreds and potentially thousands of pounds of locally grown food. So
Right.
Can you explain a little bit of, the win-win, I guess, for all the parties involved?
Sure. Some folks, when they talk about farm to school, they actually think of it as a win-win-win. And that's because we think of it as a win for the farmers, definitely for the schools, and also for the children. So for the farmers, like you mentioned, maybe that schools gives them a new market that they hadn't sold in before. And again, in quantities that, might be a really good sell for them, as well as the schools have pretty consistent demand. They know exactly how much of each thing they're going to need and when. They're pretty good at paying their bills. They have the money to budgeted for the food. So it supports the local economy in that way, and growers might actually be able to have new varieties of produce compared to maybe just the commodity things that they were offering in the past. For the kids, it's really about, the chance to understand where their food comes from, hopefully eat more fresh fruits and vegetables, which, as we know, can help fight obesity and chronic disease. Research has shown that students in a farm to school program actually eat 20% more fruits and vegetables, and it really helps them develop that positive attitude towards food and ultimately, hopefully, lifelong healthy eating habits. For the schools, it's really can be increased meal participation. Pricing can be really competitive. It can end up costing less at times and taste better, and hopefully get the kids to eat it. Children eat up to half their calories during the school day, so it's really a great place for us to focus these efforts.
So schools just around the corner are already started for some kids. So there's a lot of exciting things planned. I'm kind of just on the outskirts of them, but can you share a little bit about what are some of the big things that are going to happen with the Farm to School program in Winnebago County this year?
Sure. So we're getting ready for school to start. Like you said, we're making connections with more and more local farmers and growers that can supply to the schools. We're working with the Northeast Wisconsin Food Hub to purchase more of that food for school lunches. And then we will help the schools to promote those items with the students with cafeteria tasting events. We call them Fun Food of the Month, highlighting locally grown foods such as melons, tomatoes, apples, squash, or even frozen vegetable blends kind of thing. And school gardens is another thing that we'll be doing, and you're going to hear more about that later in a later segment. But regarding the frozen vegetable blends, Rethink and the Oshkosh, Amaro, and Winnie County School Food Service Directors actually teamed up recently to make over 1,000 pounds of ratatouille, which is a product made famous by the 2007 children's movie of the same name. It was mixed up, roasted, frozen, and it'll be served during the school year as a side dish on pizza, quesadillas, wraps, kind of thing. And you might remember from the movie Remy the Rat mixing up his own batch of ratatouille. And we really hope to get the children's attention through using themes and icons from that movie, get them excited about trying that healthy food, And children today really are bombarded with messages and marketing of negative, unhealthy, processed kind of foods. And we want to compete with that as much as we can and really brand those healthy foods in a way that appeals to the children. So we're really excited about that project.
Yeah, and we just had up on the screen the take-home flyer for Ratatouille for the elementary school kids, where they can do a little bit of learning about what Ratatouille is and a word search and kind of tie it all together. And like you said, they're bombarded. So this is kind of a fun new educational kind of thing that helps them learn about where their food comes from and what's all involved with it. So
exactly, we're excited about all of that.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for being here today, and also for setting up our next segment. I can't wait to share a sneak peek behind the scenes from the Ratatouille making happening that occurred on August 13th. So we'll be back in the studio right after we take a look at the video.